Wellness Show, episode number 394.
Welcome to the Wellness Show, a podcast on health and wealth. I'm your host, Tyhson, the founder of the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy. Join me as we get the latest insight, tips, and strategies from wellness providers, coaches, and successful, heart-centered entrepreneurs, and much, much more. Welcome to the Wellness Show. I'm your host, Tyhson Bannigan. The Wellness Show on health, wealth, and enlightenment. And we're with you for the next hour to answer all your questions on dowsing and energy healing, to receive a clearing, to talk about what's up in your life and what's up on planet Earth during this extraordinary change that's happening worldwide. So this is your opportunity. Phone in, ask questions, get a clearing, maybe even a reading. And so welcome to the show. And how are you, Laura? What's up on your life?
I'm wonderful. It is so beautiful here in Wisconsin. How's it in Canada?
We got rain, but we've got strawberries, and then we got more strawberries, and then strawberries and more strawberries. And they're so delicious, and they're so wonderful this year. So learning how to manage the strawberry beds where you have one plants for this year, and because they don't, they really do well in the second year, and then you start the next bed the first year, so you're rotating every other year, so you have awesome strawberries. So all part of learning how to attune to nature, how to become one with nature, how to return back to nature, which is, by the way, the theme of today. So yeah, and learning all this in my garden, right? Remembering to get outside. Having said that, I am going to be glued to my desk from now until 3 o'clock this afternoon with lunch somewhere in the midst of it. Back to back to back interviews, discussions, helping people get out of their own way. Oh my goodness, so much going on. Not boring here, not boring.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and you may wonder why it says here that the theme in the Dowsing and Energy and closed Facebook group, this is Thursday, and it says promo Thursday. Well, if you're a member of the Dowsing and Energy Healing closed Facebook group, and you're participating in that group by commenting and putting in information that's valuable for everybody, this is your one and only day in which you can promote your own activities, right? So if you have something that you want to market that's related to dowsing and energy healing, or or health, wealth, or enlightenment, which are the themes, then go ahead and do that. And underneath, I just put a hashtag with promo, PROMO, Thursday, THURS, just to let everybody know that that's not coming from me. It's part of you being promoted by me through that group.
Is that you promote like free services of yourself?
Yeah. So if you wanted to promote your coaching, that's the one and only time that you could do it. However, I've been known, if people are really, really interactive and participate in that group, then I do make exceptions, right?
Nice.
But most people just throw something in. They join the group and then immediately want to blast us with all the things that they're so super good at, which I really appreciate. Yeah, I know you're super good at things, but this is a group to participate in and then share your wealth, right? So
I've never done that. I never even thought about it.
There you are. So
If
now there's an actual
working
graphic.
together for a while. I should do that.
Yeah, you should.
Thank you. I should.
So that's a graphic. There's a graphic for every day of the week now, which I
that's
instituted. So it's pretty clear that says, because people were saying, well, what's this, Tyhson, what's this promo Thursday? And then somebody was able to explain it. So now that I wanted to explain it on the show, well, that's why it is every Thursday. But also the other themes are, on Friday, we should probably do the Sunday and the Saturday theme as well. I think the Sunday is gratitude. I can't remember what the Saturday is, so that they all get covered, right? Because people are responding, asking personal healings or healings for the planet. So I know people are paying attention and they do want us to assist them. Of course, the best way to do that is phone in toll free in North America, 1-866-369-7464. Or maybe write in a comment, or you could even share the show and get a backstage pass and join us on Zoom, right? And I know that we have a few people on Zoom today, and that means you get to put up your hand, ask questions first, and if you've got lots of things you want to say, you can come on and be a co-host and be with us and talk about what's really important to you. So it's your opportunity to be live on this show with
And
the
if you
cool
share,
Laura Kuhl.
if you share the show, and if you text me or on Messenger, on Facebook Messenger, I will give you the password to get on to Zoom so that you can join us in the on the back end of it. And then you can hear Tyhson and I and Michael in the morning. which is kind of funny because we're just ourselves at that point.
Yeah, a lot of silliness going on. I know Michelle Montgomery has shared it. I don't know if I've given her a pass, but I've never seen her show up yet.
I think she's at work during this time, so I think she just tunes
Oh,
in.
that's why she can't take advantage of the pass, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's working.
She's working. Yeah, and don't forget, there's multiple ways to watch the show afterwards. You can go over to the YouTube channel, and by the way, it's now called the Wellness Academy. Haven't changed the name of the YouTube channel. I'm still trying to figure out how to do that. We've changed the name on the Facebook page. It's now not the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy, it's the Wellness Academy. So we got Facebook to do that. It still points to the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy is still the name so people can find it. But the graphics and the name on the site itself are changed to the Wellness Academy.
Yeah, I don't know if you can do that. I bet you're gonna have to start over. I don't know if you can add like the Wellness Academy, kind of like how Prince did it. Prince, like his symbol, and then he went as.
Yeah, I don't know what you're saying. I was certainly able to do it on Facebook, so I have every intention.
Yes, Facebook lets you. Yeah, but I don't think YouTube does.
Well, we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna be changing the graphic anyway, so it doesn't make any difference. We're gonna come in on one, and then you're gonna see the graphics. So the new branding is underway. The new academy is underway, and we're launching a brand new program. We're in the midst of designing it all. It's called the Spiritual Millionaire. There'll be a 40-day get out of your way about your money issues. So it'll be very much like all the clearing yourself, clearing others, clearing the planet, and clearing your connection with the money drama in your life, which is directly connected to how much you can love yourself, how much you can give, and how much you're allowing yourself to receive. Brand new program.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah, pretty excited. Yeah. So that's in the works, and it's going to be launched fairly soon in the not too distant future. You'll be to have all those different steps, like each program now in those 5 categories, which is personal, healing others or working on others, on the planet, and then there's the store, the wellness store. Then there's the spiritual millionaire, and there's the store. So that's 5 of them. So the 4 of them that are programs are in beginning, intermediate, and advanced. So the beginning is everything about clearing yourself and learning how to do that. And then you can move from those programs into individual programs on your own, which are going to be evergreen, right? You can come on anytime. And then the next step up is group coaching programs and one-to-one coaching. And also there's graduates programs on that. So for example, the Distant Healing Certification is a stepping stone for the Dowsing and Energy Healing Masterclass. So some of these programs have stepping stones from to get you started. So yeah, pretty excited about this and getting the whole Wellness Academy, making it feel well.
We have people saying good morning all over the place. People are tuning in. They like this. They like this show. I like this show. Thank you. Thank you for bringing it to the world for us. What are we talking about today, Ty? You want to talk?
I just said it, and you missed it. I mean,
I did.
Yeah, it's back to nature.
Oh yeah,
back to nature. So, and we were also talking about your dream, right? Your vision that you had, and there's a couple of agendas that out there for which is the future of Mother Earth, right? We talked about that there's sort of all the conspiracy theories, one world government, and wearing masks was, what slaves needed to do to be able to be identified as not having a voice, and, how the establishment creates a problem, one side against the other, and then funds that, that war where there's Black Lives Matter and to create division, and then they come up with the solution, right? Is that we have to clamp down with more laws, or we have to put in new regulations, or we do 9/11 and we, take down the trade centers, and then we have to take away your security because we need to protect you from terrorists, right? So this is like, this is called false flags. This is the opportunity that's taken to lock down you on prison planet. So when we talk about, what's coming forward, this is one agenda. And the other agenda is, of course, liberation, which starts with you becoming a sovereign human being and knowing that the law of one, which is do no harm, is a universal law that trumps any man-made law. It's the law of God. It's the law of creation. And when you violate that, there's consequences. So we talked about karma, we talked about reincarnation. And the last two shows, or are precursors to this, is that if we don't abide by the laws of one, which are really the laws of nature as well,
yeah,
then there are consequences. And these are consequences that can't be avoided. You can't, just because you are a millionaire and think that you want to have one world government and you want to be in control of everybody and the whole agenda, and have, fiat currency and be able to do all of that, and, vaccinate everybody and do population control. That may be your agenda, but if you're violating the law of one, which is do no harm, you have consequences, right? That your mommy never told you about. Your mommy should have sat you down and told you all about the laws of karma. And guess what? If you don't get it worked out this time, you get to come back and do it again until you get it figured out. So yeah, I think the agenda is really pretty horrific when I think about these gentlemen with lots of money who think they're going to control the world. But, on one level, I have to have compassion because they really don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're bringing down on themselves. Of course, they don't believe in what we believe anyway. They're from a Satanistic perspective. We are just human beings that are fodder that can be harvested and digested and done in rituals. But that being said, even so, I mean, the law of one is universal. And I don't care whether you're a Satanist or whether you're following God or whatever, you're still subject to the law of one. There's no getting away from it. It's universal law. It's not just on this planet, it's universal throughout creation. And yes, there's the deviant path. It's a path of learning. But boy, that's one of pain and suffering. I don't know if I want to go down that path, right? It's a long way to get back to the light. Anyway, so back to nature is remembering that you're from Mother Earth, right? Meaning that you're one with your own inner nature. You're at peace at yourself. You're not trying to win a war. You're not trying to conquer yourself. You're not trying to control the planet and control other people. You're becoming a sovereign human being to make your own decisions. And your ultimate authority is your connection to God or to source consciousness.
And
you're free.
That if we had the law of one, if everyone actually practiced the law of one, we wouldn't need a government, would we now?
Well, if we practice the law of one, we would be part of the intergalactic federation of light. We would be one with many extraterrestrial beings that would be more than willing to help us solve all of our supposed global problems that we created by shitting in our own nest, right? We're the only animal that will foul its own nest. Even a pig is more careful about where it poos than humans. So there, I've said it. Yeah, so it's a wake up time, everybody. It's time to wake up and have some coffee. Yeah, I'll have some coffee right now. Thank you. So there you have it. I've said it all. It's the conspiracy. Whoa! Which side do you want to be on? And there's no sides. By the way, if you're thinking about sides, there's Democrat versus Republicans, there's black versus white. And well, by the way, I just was reading about, I'm from Irish descent. Did you know that there was the whole slavery, how many hundreds of thousands of Irish people were sold into slavery in the colonies? So white slavery even predates black slavery, that actually almost decimated the population of Ireland because they were sold as slaves in the Caribbean to their British masters to work in the plantations. So slavery is not just a black issue, it's a white issue, it's a planet issue, it's a domination of any person by another person. And I just have a raven who is sitting on the tree, and ravens always are the watcher. So he's watching me talk about this. The watcher has shown up, the raven.
It's showing up the dude who takes care of me right here.
Right. Yeah, you've got a spirit animal, and I've got a spirit animal known as a raven. So if you would like to talk about this, or you'd like to receive a clearing, then feel free to phone in. And I'm just looking at a little book that I just love. And really, this is really what it's all about, right? That's on the back of the book. Can you see that?
Yep.
Love Alone Is.
On the back of which book is it?
It's a little tiny book that I have that I love. It's called Source.
Oh yeah, you've shown that before.
I don't know if I've shown it before, but I use quotes all the time from it.
Yeah.
Words about love.
Oh, but to me, you've shown.
Yeah,
it.
words about love and all else.
Interesting, because I wrote on Facebook today about my love for God is like, it isn't this intense, like when you first meet somebody and you're infatuated and everything's so intense. It's more like the love that you have for your family, or like that I have for my father and my mother. It's just kind of calm and peaceful and safe, but it's not up here and it's not down here. It's like right here. It's just this peace, calm knowingness that all is right in the universe. And then, so you bringing that up, it's interesting how you and I are on the same wavelength.
Yeah, that type of love is called, unconditional love, or agape, A-G-A-P-E.
Agape love. Yeah, that's
the
best.
Maybe Google that and give us the definition. So is there anybody out there who would like some help, or would like to phone in, or has any comments?
Debbie Etzel says, my family is from Puerto Rico. My mother told me that the Spaniards enslaved the I'm not saying it correctly.
Indigenous.
Thank you. Indigenous peoples when they came to the island. Sadly, this is how man has been conquered or committed genocide. Well, that's true. So what we're saying is that the Jews have been enslaved. There's been lots and lots of different groups of people that have been enslaved. The Japanese or the Asian were enslaved too, and they built a lot of the railroad systems here in America. And in fact, lots of slaves built America. Imagine that.
Right. Yeah, in fact, we're all enslaved. I mean, if you can't pursue who you are without being limited by the government that's here to control you, then you are essentially a slave. So the mere fact that you signed your birth certificate, your mother and dad did, is you are indentured to the United States of America, which is a corporation, or the government of Canada, and you have been used as chattel that can be loaned against as chattel. So you essentially are a slave. We are all slaves.
Absolutely. Well, unless you take back your sovereignty, correct?
Well, no, a free man means that you abide by the law of one. But there is no government on planet Earth that abides by the law of one. The laws are all fabricated in order to protect those that are in power. So there is no such thing as justice, and there is no such thing as equitable government. And there is no ism that works, that has that one law that rules and that man makes decisions on. So, I mean, we live in a conspiracy world in which one group is trying to dominate the other and manipulate the flow of money the government and the court system in order to stack the deck in favor of one. And when it's set up that way, where we have an adversarial government, we have Democrats and Republicans, and we divide and conquer, which is why way that anybody conquers a nation is divide and conquer. And we keep people focused on that division when behind it, the big agenda is one world government. Whether you're a Republican or Democrat, they both have the same agenda. So they play this game of Trump hates Hillary and Hillary plays Trump, but they hang out in the same places, right? And do things together. So it's a big joke. So wake up, everybody, and realize that being sovereign means that you will be guided through the guidance that you receive, and we are yet to experience have what I would call heaven on earth, which is abiding by the law of one. But I believe that that's where we're headed. I believe that that's what is about to manifest, right? So we have on one side, one world government and dominance and no sovereignty. And the other, we have sovereignty under the law of one, and the energy and guidance coming from source consciousness, which allows us to be part of a federation of light, of intergalactic beings that can help us clean up the planet in the blink of an eye. And over here, we've in a prison planet, isolated ourselves from the evolution of consciousness and the rest of the multiverse. So, which one do we want,
Right. And isn't that what's prophesized, is that once the crystalline children are all born, that all of this is going to change, so there isn't a government at all?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I do know that, we only have the need to have laws when we are contravening law, right? When we're contravening, if we do harm to other people, we have consequences of that.
That's why if we all were to abide by the law of one, then we wouldn't need to be governed, because everything that we would do would be about helping each other and saving the planet. There wouldn't even be saving the planet, because we would just be respecting and loving it all the time. You wouldn't be putting down or harming anything, right? So like if I see an ant, I'm like, dude, you gotta go or get off of me. I'll brush it off. But like to kill it, like to kill anything is just, ooh, you know what I'm saying? Don't you just feel like you just can't?
Yeah, we can't kill the ant. I mean, you can, but there's consequences. So yeah, I think you're probably right. If we come together as a group, and that's what we're working on now, is learning that around the 12 around one, which is a little like a cell, right? With the one being source consciousness or the master crystal, and then the 12 around one, and they're all bringing in the guidance from the one channel. Those 12 create a dynamic, which is like the flower of light, the golden mean that's replicated. Now you're in harmony with creation. And when you do that type of form of governance means that it's aligned. It's aligned with spirit. And then miracles can happen, because the sum is always greater than the individual parts. Where it says in the Bible, 3 or more are gathered in my name, there am I. Well, that's 3 times 3, right? Or 3 times 4, right?
Yeah,
is 12. So 12 around one is a new co-creative model that we are experimenting in a number of different ways. We're writing a book using the 12 around one model to teach other people how to do that, how to bring around groups. We're doing a mastermind now around 12 around one, the Sacred Evolutionary Dowsing Consortium, in cleaning up things on the planet. We did some work in Washington,
so you
D.C.
saying there's really 13 if there's 12 around one?
12 around one, yeah.
Does that mean there's really 13?
It means that there's source consciousness in the center and there's 12 around it. Think of the Knights of the Round Table.
Yeah.
Okay. There's 12 around the table, and in the center is the consciousness. Or think of 12 crystal skulls. There could be a master's crystal skull in the center, but it still represents source consciousness. Okay, you think of 12 disciples around Christ, it's the same thing. And you'll see this over and over. And if you do 12 times 12 times 12, you get 144,000, which is in the Bible. which is what is necessary to bring about the next evolution for humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings us to the point that you were having a dream, which talks about what? You had a dream of a dove, right?
Oh, it wasn't a dream. That was a meditation when you and a client and I did that meditation together.
Right. So
Yes,
so
and
here's
I
so
had
here's the dove. Here's the dove on the front of the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's Yahweh, or in this particular case, it's the Book of Knowledge by J.J. Hertag. And as you can see, that these are the hands that are, I don't know if you can see the reflection, but these are the hands that are receiving the energy from the descent of the dove. And the dove is, if you look at Christian iconography, the dove is representing of the spirit, right? Of the Christed spirit that descends on the individual. It's an anointment. It's becoming the Christed being. Christos, the opening of the crown, being one with source consciousness. And then your open hands are in the sense of receiving. You're the crucible that receives the light. And when there's enough that do that, then the Christed consciousness can descend as not just an energetic belt of geometry and consciousness around the planet, but can actually become one with the whole geomantic energy lines on the planet. So all that consciousness from top to bottom is now in sympathetic harmony, right? It's in
Right.
harmonic resonance. And then the dove descends to earth, right? And there's a beautiful graphic.
Peace,
right?
Obviously, because the dove represents peace.
Yeah,
right?
the dove represents peace, universal peace, right?
This day is so amazing, almost as if I was downloaded all this information before the show.
Yeah, and it sort of looks like this. This is the closest that I can come to. This is when I install in hospitals and elsewhere. I call it the Christ grid. If you hold it this way, you can see it's like a Merkaba, right? And
Yep.
if you hold it this way, you can see that it's the lattice work of the universe, right? It's like the cube. And in there is all the geometry of the tetrahedron and dodecahedron and star tetrahedron and icosahedron and the cube and the octahedron, which are all the building blocks of 5 platonic solids that make up the universe. And so this is just an amazing little graphic representation of the web of life or the structure. And every time you turn it, you can see
Merkaba.
the Merkaba, or you can see the different lattice work, right? As you turn it in different way.
See, now there's the female, that's the male. You just had female Merkaba, and now you turned it, and then there was the male Merkaba.
Yeah. So I love this little thing. It's
beautiful.
It really it demonstrates just the intricacy of the pattern. And if you took the squares and you joined the circle inside of the squares, then you'd have the flower of life, right? And you can see it goes all the way in and all the way out. So it's like a mandible set, where the more you look at each square, the more that you'll see the same square replicated.
And that's
the square would go up, 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 all the way through creation, right?
And that's
all the
5D.
way down to a molecule.
So
And of course, in there
5
is
dimensions. If you hold it up, that's 5 dimensions. And as you rotate it, you see that as he rotates it, it becomes, it's the same thing, but it has all these different viewpoints, you see?
right.
But it's all one. So, and there's no darkness. It's all, so as you turn it, everything is enlightened, just like 5D. So when I try and explain 5D to somebody, that would be the perfect thing to show them. Because all is, it's just what perspective you're looking at will give you your viewpoint on that, but it's all interconnected.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, this is just the geometry of a tube torus. So if you were able to see the energy flow, you would see that it would come in and out. And like this would be like the part of the structure of the tube torus as well. And if you look at this tube torus, and I don't have one with me, but if you take it and you rotate it, you'll see that all the colors of the rainbows are created as you rotate the tube torus. And then if you take the smallest slice off the tube torus, that if you turn that, creates the whole tube torus. And now if you rotate it, you have A, and then B, and then you have C. Now you have the whole alphabet, which is what he's talking about in here, that the alphabet comes from the tube torus. It comes from the word of God. It's an attempt to talk about creation that is beyond the words, right? So our words are an artifact trying to explain an interdimensional experience, an aha, like your vision of the dove. I know if you were trying to write out that experience, you would find yourself quite limited by the words, trying to put all of your feelings and emotions about what that vision meant to you. Am I correct?
It's unexplainable.
It's unexplainable.
Everything and nothing. Like I tried to do today about my love for God on Facebook. I tried to post it. I tried to express it in a way that, but it's so complex, yet it's so simple.
Yeah, and that's why every single prophet and every enlightened being, every master or saint has always expressed their connection with source consciousness, their aha moment, their eureka or enlightenment or satori, or however you want to define it, or trying to explain it. It's always in the language of their religion or their tradition or their culture or their beliefs. All mystics express it that way because they're trying to find the words to express something that no language can actually carry the meaning of it, right?
1,000%. I totally get it. Like my sister's always like, Laura, use your words, use your words. I'm like, just get in my brain, then you can understand.
Right.
Get in there.
Yeah, that's when you can read the amazingness of a Sufi, right? And it doesn't matter whether you're Judo, Christian, Islamic, or a Buddhist, you'll get it because it's being written in a way in which it transcends as best as possible beyond culture and traditions in ways in which we can all understand. That's why what Buddha says is something that resonates and can resonate across all cultures, or what Christ said. So when it's, or Lao Tzu, so when it's, or Confucius for that matter. So when they speak the truth, there's a vibrational frequency to it that is beyond the words. Maybe that's the way to explain it. It's a frequency beyond the words that you go, oh, that feels right, or that, it just resonates with you, and you get a download that's beyond the words, right? Now, the difficulty with scientific rational way of an approach is that the words get locked into the meaning of the dictionary, that every word has a specific origin. And then we get into modern philosophy where we get anally connected to the words, and the word has to be defined in a dictionary. And I have a huge 2-volume dictionary now of philosophical terms because I took philosophy as part of my undergraduate degree. My degree is in philosophy. And I have to say, Western philosophy is really bankrupt because you're trying to make philosophy into a science, and you can't do that. Philosophy.
That's the best explanation I've ever heard of it. It's bankrupt. That's exactly it. What intention do Western minds ever have other than the 7 deadly sins, to gain power and greed and envy and all of it? It's all in our system. Everything that is negative and horrible is what we aspire to. It's sick. It's just sick. It's it's so freaking backwards. It's not even right anymore. And wake up, people. Wake up. Just wake up. Wake up. We don't need Gucci bags or the best shoes or mansions to live in, or what is all of this? Really, what is it?
The desire to fit in. Look, if you're not a sovereign human being and you're not in the path to liberation, then you want to fit in. You want to be part of the crowd. I mean, you're taught from the time you go to school. You go to school and be weird, you're going to get the shit kicked out of you because you're a weird kid. You need to conform in order to exist in a high school. Every kid learns that the tough way, or you just learn to shut up and don't say anything. That's what I did. and don't get involved because they don't understand who you are. But the real desire for the kids to do well, you know, the basketball stars and the track guys, and you know, and you know, the women that follow them and all the rest of that, you know, are that they want to fit in. So they all dress the same way, use the same hairdos, you know. I used to have my collar hat, you know, and then I had a nice rat, you know, I had one of those wave curls come over the front, and you know, a duck bill at the back, and you know, and one of these rat-tailed combs in my pocket sticking out, you know. I mean,
You still have it.
I was cool, man. I was cool.
That's
And,
awesome.
because
You're
why?
still
Because you know,
cool.
I needed to fit in, man. I wanted to be part of the tribe. Did it ever work? Hell no. It never worked. I couldn't fit in for the life of me. Even if I looked the part, I couldn't fake it, man. I couldn't fake it till I make it. So the desire to fit in is really, really, really super strong in our culture, you know. Otherwise you're a misfit, you know. And if you're really, really weird and say that you're communicating with God, they're gonna lock you up. And are gonna give you something to settle you down, boy. Get back into the mindset, right? You
Yep.
need to be normal around here.
What
You
did my
need to
father
show up
say?
and be normal.
My father said, "We know you have this gift, Laura Beth. You don't need to tell anyone about it." I said, "Dad, you even know who I am." Of course I'm gonna tell everybody. Watch out. He was like, "Oh God."
I know. Yeah.
We have a couple people asking for, we actually have 3 people asking for clearings. Crystal asked for a COVID clearing. Oz asked, I would like a clearing about parenting, clearing out all negative beliefs about parenting being hard. And Heather Wallace asked for that same clearing. So is this
Yeah, parenting be hard. That's a really interesting one.
the thought of it being hard? Because is it really like, it's kind of like that whole thing with God, right? My trying to explain to you my love for God is so complex, yet it's so simple. And when you think about parenting, it's the same thing. When you're in your head, it's complex. When you're in your heart, it's simple. You can't love a kid enough. You can't harm a child because at all, especially if you love them. If you come from that space of love, always whatever you do, you're just doing it in love. You can't harm the child. So
that's a great point. I mean, when I think about and my son just went through a traumatic experience, and he was part of a Black Lives Matter march. Did I tell you about this? There's 150 people in a very small town in the middle of rural Alberta, which is really arch conservative. You know, they wear baseball hats, believe that oil economy is the way that we make money, right? And it's like Texas North. So, okay, you know, pretty opinionated. And my son is trans whatever. You know, I don't even know if there's a label for him. And he has a rainbow colored hair. And, you know, he really felt comfortable in 150 people that he enjoyed the speeches, and there was a whole feeling of love and everything. And he said, then when he was walking home, somebody who wasn't brave enough to talk to him in the crowd goes screaming by in a car, opens the window and says, "Hey, fag, choose a color." And he got all freaked out about it and all depressed, right? Because he went from a high of feeling like he was one with a group that thought the way that he did and that the justice should be, to being, you know, trounced down by somebody's opinion about his sexual orientation. So yeah, so helping him just work through that. From my point of view as being his dad, all he needs to know is I love him. I love him no matter what. No matter whether, yeah, what color of rainbow he is, and whatever sexual orientation is, or whatever, he just needs to know that he's unconditionally loved no matter what. And no matter what he does, he's still going to be loved. That's what gives him the anchor. That's what gives him the security to be himself. And I said, you know, it's his problem, not your problem. You're flying your flag. You're courageous enough to step out there and be a sovereign human being. You are willing and able to do that. That kid is scared. That kid doesn't know who he is. and he's got to make himself feel good by bullying somebody else. So this is the whole thing. When you love your kids unconditionally, and they know it, right? They'll go through hell and they'll even argue with you and make your life hell as a parent. But in the end, if they know they're loved, they're always going to come back. They're going to work through whatever they need to work through, and they're going to come back to that place of knowing that they're loved. So I know that sounds pretty simple, but it's just if you let them go and do what they need to do to be angry or resentful or whatever, and they know that they're loved, and you still tell them they're loved no matter how bad and rotten they are, they can't help but come back to the place that they're loved. It's just the way it is. So that's my advanced parenting skills. And do I have a lot more to go? Probably yes, but I know that's all I wanted from my dad is never mind, Dad, what do you think I should be doing? Or I don't like what you're doing. I love you, but I don't like what you're doing. I don't need all that. Just tell me that you love me, period. That's it. Then I can settle down. That's all I need to hear, Dad. And I never really heard it. Or from my mom. It's always conditional. Yes, dear, but you didn't do A, B, C, and D, and E. And oh, but it's nice you did A, B, C, D, D. But what about F, G, H, A, P? It's a never-ending list of to-dos, which is conditional love, right? Yes, I love you, but you haven't got it right yet. So loving your kids unconditionally means that you're okay loving yourself unconditionally, and then everything starts to settle down. Other thing I would say about parenting and clearing is if you really, really are stuck, right? And it's just overwhelming and you're pulling your hair, put it in the court of atonement. Give it to upstairs. Let them figure it out. And another way to talk to kids that I've found that are going through hell is to just talk to their soul. I call it spirit walking. So I like to visit them when they're asleep. I knock on the door. It's an imaginary door. And I say, can I come on in? Like knocking at the kid's bedroom door that says, stay out, private, do not pass. So you knock at the door and you say, can I enter? And if the soul says, yes, you come in and you have a conversation with their soul. Say, hey, I love you, blah, blah, blah. This is going on. I understand what you just have the conversation like you would with a normal teenager that isn't freaking out. You're talking to the soul. And guess what? The kid transforms just before your eyes, right? They hear it on the soul level when they can't hear on the physical body because there's all those hormones and craziness going through their body and trying to fit in. And oh my God, and they're being bullied at school and everything. So bypass the rational, analytical ego mind and talk to the soul. The soul will always listen to the deeper aspect of what you're trying to communicate.
But you can do that with anyone. You could do that
with
absolutely. Your wife. You could do it with your children. You can do it with
your dog, your cat.
Yep. Your parents.
Your government.
Whomever. And love will always, always, always be felt.
Yeah.
Right?
You could go whisper in President Trump's ear.
I do.
Yeah. You can, you can sit him down and say, you're doing a really amazing job. You're bringing about change and transformation on this planet. We're never going to go back to the normal that we were before. So I thank you for being, a channel of the new energy that's flowing through. I may be like my dad and say, hey, President Trump, I don't like what you're doing. I don't like what you're doing, but I love you for who you are because you're obviously being used as a conduit. Doesn't mean I need to agree with absolutely everything, but I know that.
For huge change and everything that is America, he is the epitome of. He's in our face. He's that huge mirror saying, what is it that you don't like about yourself is exactly him.
Or what don't you like about me? What you don't like about me is what you don't like about yourself too. Both.
Exactly. Amen on what Tyhson was saying about parenting. Love it. Unconditional love. Just love your kids. There's
no matter what.
But love yourself first so that you can love your kids. And how does one do that? It can be
the other way around. I mean, by loving your kids unconditionally, you're going to end up loving yourself. So I don't care where you start because you're going to end up right back there anyway. So yeah, like Laura says, you do need to love yourself unconditionally, but it's sometimes easier to start, certainly with your dog, right? Like for you, to love your dog unconditionally, spirit is a no-brainer, right?
That's how I started. It was the only way I knew how. I love so hard and so deep that I shut her down. I shut my heart down a long time ago in order to just be able to walk this planet. And
Yeah,
so the safest thing was to love my dogs. And I remember saying to people, you'd be lucky if I loved you as much as I love my dogs. And
yeah.
then,
Same with me. Same with
yeah.
me.
And
My
now
dog is my
it's
guru.
so much easier. It's so easy to love people now. But
It was my dog. It was my
wow.
dog called I Ching that I loved unconditionally no matter what. And even when he was bad and really, like killing chickens and things, I had to make boundaries for him, but I would cry when I did it because I wanted him. I didn't want to put him down. I didn't want him to be in trouble. So I had to create boundaries for him to protect him. I had to tell him that if he stepped onto that Trans-Canada Highway, he was going to be dead, right? So he needed to know without me looking at him that he couldn't go anywhere near that. So he would lie on the side of the road, like 8 feet away from the edge of the road. This is a huge highway. Like, come on, stop it. But I had to do boundaries with him, and it hurt. But it was my unconditional love that was coming from. I loved him so much because he opened my heart. He opened it so much to have another dog in my life was too overwhelming. But hey, now I have a dog named Louie who comes. And by the way, he's on his way home pretty soon. Michael's on the coast picking up Darlene. And Louie's having a venture time playing with his buddy, another dog. And soon they'll all be home. So I get to play with Louie and see if I can take the Frisbee away from him. So I have another dog in my life, which is really important. So those animals are the first step for you to learn about unconditional love. The first step to open your heart.
That's the thing about children too, right?
Yeah, yeah. They're
See,
not your pet, but they teach you how to open your heart no matter what.
well, I mean, you have to have boundaries with your kids. Like my dad said, if your kids don't hate you, you're not doing your job. And hate being as they dislike you so intently, because those boundaries are like they will always test you on the boundaries, right? And I know so many parents who give up on those boundaries. Like my dog Spirit is, oh my God. And West Highland Terriers in themselves are so, anyway, you ask any West Highland Terrier owner, they will tell you they are super, super stubborn. Well, so am I. And I'm just as much of that boundary keeper as they are the boundary breakers. So now everyone says, "Oh, your dogs are so good. They're so good. They're so good." Yeah, because when they were puppies, when they were little, when your kids are little, you create very, very strong boundaries, right? Like both my parents were teachers. They said the first 2 weeks of school, you just hit them hard. You're just on them and on them. You don't let them get away with anything. Everything is no, 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 not like that, like this. And then after that, then you can back off. They know your expectations. They know their boundaries. They feel safe. And within those containers, you will have a good child who not only is good for themselves, but good because they feel safe, they feel protected, and those are what boundaries create. Then you can
That's
allow
what the government believes about you too, Laura.
what?
And that's what the school believed about you too.
What?
It's exactly the same. We got to give you boundaries, and you better know the boundaries really quick, and you better stay within the boundaries, or there's going to be consequences. And
Not
so,
the consequences. It's the safety. Don't you feel safe within boundaries?
but wait a minute, I'm trying to make a point.
Okay, I'm
Point
sorry.
that I'm making that I don't want you to lose because you're going to try and defend it, and what you're defending is worth defending. But what I'm saying is, what you're doing is for the love of the dog to protect it. What I'm
Yes.
saying is the government is not doing it for the love to protect you. It's doing it in order to control you, okay, for nefarious reasons, right?
So what's the difference then? Because I understand what you're saying, but like my father and mother clearly loved us so much, and their boundaries made me into the person that I am today, which I believe is a free and sovereign human being. I'm very independent. I take care of myself. I love, I mean, so is there a right and wrong in this? Is that why they want a clearing on parenting? Because it isn't as easy as it looks?
Well, it isn't as easy as it looks if you're coming from if you're coming from the desire to control, or you're just so fed up with the kid that you're overwhelmed, or you're just so angry that you want to kill him. I mean, that is a
Gosh, what?
desire to control, which is no different than the establishment's desire to control or enslave you to get you to do what you need, what they want you to do, so they have ultimate control of you, which is all, from their point of view, money. So again, it always looks the same. This is the incredibleness of it. On one side, is it being used to liberate human beings, or is it being used to enslave human beings? They look exactly the same way, but is it coming from the heart-centered law of one, do no harm? Or is it coming from, I want to control you for my own personal or my own collective gain of some select group with a 1% or whatever you want to call it, right? So this is where being sovereign is, even for raising a child. There's that boundary at which the child has to make a break between its parents and itself. And that break is not listening to its parents anymore, and not listening to society anymore, but listening to its guidance. That's the point I'm trying to make. And that's the critical thing that you want to be able to bring into the child's consciousness, is that they need to be able to get in their own guidance, right? They need to be having their connection to source.
Well, and don't they say from 0 to 5 is when the parent does what we were talking about, just like the first 2 weeks in the school.
Yeah, but that's what the Jesuit says. That's what the Jesuit order says. Give me a kid between the ages of 0 and 5, and I have them for the rest of their lives. That's how we control
that's
people.
not what I'm saying, though.
I'm trying to tell you that there's two sides to the coin.
I got it.
Whether you're using that with 0 to 5 to teach a kid about liberation and sovereignty, or you're teaching that kid to what it is to be enslaved, it's the same process. Why are you doing it? How are you doing it? That's the point I'm trying to make.
Okay, but if we do it the way that we were initially talking about, which is love, right? Creating boundaries about love, right? Like in a loving manner, not like beating the crap out of them, because from 0 to 5 to get them to do what you want, because it's in your best interest, but to allow them to have boundaries so that they're safe, so they don't go into the road, so that they don't
That's perfectly all right.
put their hand on the fire, right? But from 0 to 5, you teach them what you know, but then from that point on, now they're their own human being, and now you have to start listening to that human being and their rationale and their understanding of how the world works, and talking to them on their level to help them understand and become the person that they want to become. Does that make sense?
That's what I'm saying.
That's my point. Yeah.
But the point that I'm trying to make is it looks exactly the same from the outside in about what's happening.
I get it. And I can even feel the that control, that tension, that trying to take over. Do you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like training horses. Are you going to kill the spirit of the horse, or are you going to love the horse such that the horse loves you? Which way do you want to have a horse? How are you going to? It's the same on everything, right? You can kill the spirit. You can snuff out the spirit and think that you're in control, and it looks like the same thing as a horse, except if you're empathic, you can tell that. I mean, I can tell being around a horse and who's the owner of the horse, what the relationship is between the horse and the human. It's really easy for me. The message I get is, and one horse was, just tell her to put that whip down, right? And just tell her to love me. I'll do anything you want. And this is just that, big whip that they use just to touch the horse to make it back up and do these other things, right? That horse did not want that whip. It had wanted nothing to do with it, even though the whip it was usually being used as a control mechanism, but was not doing through punishment. So, again, you want anything to work with you through the law of one, then you have it for the rest of your life. There will be that harmonic accord no matter what, that will take you through all obstacles, all trials and tribulations, right? We got 4 minutes to go.
That is really good. That's a really good point. Like how you say that. I understand now. I had a dog, Charlie, that I yelled at all the time and used that more of a strict thing. And with Spirit taught me how to just love him into doing, because he wouldn't come when I would yell at him, but
No,
Charlie wouldn't come unless I yelled at him.
Spirit is from a terrier background that, he can be a holy terror. I mean, there's just no way that he's going to get you to control him unless you love him. It's just that simple. I mean, he's your greatest teacher. Otherwise you'd be like this,
Yes, I can be very much.
And he's teaching you, screw you. You do this, I'm not paying attention to you.
No, he doesn't. He just looks at me. He's like, I'm not.
Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Who are you talking to, right? I mean, I know your dog really well. I
just told one time, I said, well, why didn't you just come and talk to me about that? And he was like, because you look like a rabid bulldog. I don't want to talk to you when you're like that.
Yeah, I'm out of here. Yeah, I'll go chew the bone.
And I said, but you didn't know why. And he's like, but I didn't care because I was when you were that mad.
I don't want nothing to do with you.
No, he just walked away. I was like, my greatest lessons were people who stood up to me.
Yeah.
In their own, but without doing anything, but doing in that love space, right?
Well, even that, I mean, even your greatest adversaries who are from the satanic, devilish, black arts are your greatest teachers. They're amazing. You stand in your truth as a sovereign human being and pull down it from source. They are your greatest teachers. If you have an adversary knocking at your door, I'd say, hey, great that you showed up. I'm about time to graduate. So let's get through this test right away.
But you're the one who taught me that is to not fight demons, but to talk to them in a loving way.
Why are you all knocking on my door?
Because, dude, that's how I was raised. Smack them down, kill them.
If you want to have a war, go for it. It's like Spirit. I'm not going to mess with you.
Carla's coming on tomorrow. Michael wants us to talk about Miss Carla.
Oh yeah, I have to invite her, and I'm going to be talking to Carla in about an hour or so, and I'm going to bring her on if she's willing and able to bring us up to date with an empath view of the world about what's up on planet Earth, because we're in so much planetary change and transformation with all these eclipses and moon phases and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
And if she doesn't, I'll tell you what I'll do. If she doesn't, I'm going to read you the moon cycle. I was reading it yesterday, and it was so powerfully spot on that we'll do it that way. But I'm pretty sure she's going to want to come on because we want to launch the Carla show, right? The Carla show. I've been onto her for years. It's time for you to do the Carla show. So we're going to host her as a mini Carla show on our show. Give her a voice. Empath's guide to what's happening on planet Earth. And by the way, my book is on its way. I'm looking for testimonials if you want a testimonial on my book. And if you really feel that you have something to say about empaths, like I have my friend Felicia, who was talking about those in Hollywood who get trapped in taking on the motions and characters of other people because they don't feel secure about themselves, and then have to go through counseling in order to find their own soul again. I said, Felicia, that's so important to get in my book, so why don't you write that chapter? So if you're one of the people that says, hey, this whole thing about helping empaths show up and be sovereign, that's really, really important to me, and you've got something you want to tell me, I'll tell you what, you get hold of me, and if it's something that relates to what I'm writing, which I'm sure it is, you get to have a chapter in my book. And it means you're going to be a best-selling author, I
like it when you say it like that.
So there. Yeah. So you too can say, I was in this book on empaths.
Yeah. Oh, we are at the top of the hour, my friend. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Tomorrow's Friday. It's the last day that we get to play together until Monday. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Until then.
Bye. See ya.
For quality online wellness products, courses, and services, visit our sponsors, thewellnessstore.ca and the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy located at thewellnessacademy.ca. To stay in touch, visit us at thewellnessshow.ca. And until next time, be healthy, wealthy, and wise.